I found it interesting. I remember a story recently where I got called to a nursing home, picked up a visit, went out there, turned up at the home, and the nurse wasn't there. She'd been called away, she was busy somewhere. So I was standing around waiting, and then this lady said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm the doctor." I said, "Who have you come to see?" "Oh, so-and-so." "Oh, it's me that's actually called you." I said, "Oh, who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm the wife." I said, "Oh, right." I said, "I'm the one who sits here from morning till night, and I know exactly how my husband is, and it was me that noticed, I can't remember, it was a lump behind the ear or something. I was the one that mentioned it to the nurse, who then picked up the phone and sort of said, can we get the doctor to come out?" I said, "Well, if you're the one that's actually noticed the difference, well, you tell me more about this and what's been going on, and etc, etc. And she gave me a fantastic story about what's been happening, etc, etc. Sorted the patient out, did the prescription, gave instructions in terms of what to do. And then as I was finishing and walking away, the nurse came and said, "Oh, hello, Dr. Hannon, I'm here now, what can I do to help?" And I said, "There's a prescription, this is what we've done." I explained it to the spouse. Coming back to the issue of who's actually caring, even within a nursing home environment, it might be the auxiliary, or it might even be the spouse, and I would actually argue that I, as a GP in primary care, don't really spend a lot of time with patients. Patients spend most of the time with themselves. And we need to sort of move away from the idea of it's the GP that can fix it, or it's going to be a service that's overstretched that can fix it. With an ageing population, and more people living longer with more and more chronic disease, we've got to start thinking about putting the patient at the centre, and start thinking about how do we support the patient wherever they might be. Whether that's in the A&E department, medical assessment unit, whether it's on the psychogeriatric ward, whether it's at Woods Hospital, or whether it's in a residential home or nursing home or whatever. And I see Ken, you're sort of nodding there as well. I mean, I don't know, what's your thoughts about it?
Well, basically, as far as the residents are concerned who have dementia of any form, I've always said, well, if the objective is to actually do what you can, even in that condition, then that is where the emphasis should be on. Now, whether it's on how can you communicate with at one particular level, whether it gets past that stage and they become into nursing and then they can become bedridden, which they will do, the inevitability of it is there from the day one. But it goes in these stages. What upsets me and annoys me is when I go around care homes and nursing homes, I see one or two devoted staff who are caring staff and do their best to get what they can on behalf of the patient, and that means communication. That's why I made the point about, if you're talking about future strategy, on top of the list should be, in my opinion, a strategy to actually train staff who are seeing people every day of the week, and then you might get better results. I don't mean it'll mean a cure, but what it'll mean is the responsibility will be met. And I'm convinced that the responsibility to patients in nursing homes and care homes isn't met. Now, with all the highfalutin ideas, the strategy and all the rest of it, unless you go to the core where they are, and the majority of these dementia patients do finish up in a home, and some finish up in a hospital, and there is a tendency to have this Victorian outlook of what they used to do with asylums. When somebody had a mental problem, they pushed them away. Now, what worried me when my wife went into this particular nursing home, or anyone for that matter, that she was sat in a chair for 10, 12 hours before she went to bed. She had a break with her meals, but she sat back in the chair, and there was no stimulation for her till I came, and I took her magazines to look at and rip up, which she used to do at home, and rip them up in strips and place them carefully along. And she did this every day. I have a job finding magazines to take to her every day when I go to visit her, because yesterday's have been swept up by the cleaner, and she starts again on a new magazine. But it's the least stimulation one might think, but it's her only stimulation. Without that stimulation, then you can't say you're fulfilling responsibility. And I know money comes into it in terms of government money and healthcare money and all the rest of it, but at the end of the day, that's where the objective's got to be. The patient themselves, the resident themselves. The carer does come into it because they're the ones who have first-hand knowledge. You've just given an example of it. and they say at the end of the day that this is what my mother, my husband needs from a GP to come and give me a prescription for this. And yet there's nurses on board who haven't noticed it. And that's prevalent. That's the biggest worry. And I go into residential homes in Manchester, where I was brought up, and I do have connections down there. And I have a colleague who goes into those homes regularly, who rings me regular about them. Poor quality homes and no possible effects. And the biggest problem, of course, was immediately when they privatised the homes. It was bad enough when they were run by local councils. But that's where the objectives should be and the responsibility should be.
I think you're right. Just a final thought.
Yes.
It's about confidence in knowing that the system will be there for you when you need it, but also trust that we can trust you, whoever you are, to do what's best for that loved one. Because if they can't trust you, then who else can they trust? I think perhaps on that note, and working out what Mapping is and what the experience of 13 years of being a clinician there and whatnot, let's try and bring those two things together, those two worlds together, and look at ways of improving the way we deliver care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Apart from the time, I think I can smell the food, so it's time to finish the meeting. First of all, I would like to thank Karen from Pfizer, who has sponsored our meeting. I would also like to thank all the speakers, Mr. Ashmore, Yvonne Bennett, Dr. Ali, Dr. Sadiq, Simon, Dr. Jolly, and finally all of you for taking, giving your time and coming here. And I think a special thank to Dr. Hanan, because this meeting wouldn't have been possible without his determination. Thank you, Ami.